What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest episode of WWE Break It Down on Mick Foley. Now, the episode was a little longer than the usual length, I think. I think the Sheamus one was like 10 minutes. I forgot how long the R-Truth one was and the AJ Styles one was. This one was around 13 minutes. The Sheamus one, like I said, was around 10. Not that much different, but the time flies by, as always, breaking down some of Mick Foley's favorite matches in his career. And they break down, 4 matches. Only one of them comes from his WWE run. So, with a legend like Mick Foley, it would have been cooler to have him for longer. I'm talking maybe, 30 minutes or whatever. I know they just did a 24 on him, or an Untold, rather, talking about the Triple H match from both of them, actually, the Royal Rumble 2000 and No Way Out 2000. But it would have been cooler to hear him talk about more matches, but it was also, refreshing to hear him talk about some earlier matches from earlier on in his career, from WCW and ECW, respectively. The only WWE match he talks about is the, the Steel Cage match from SummerSlam 97 with Triple H. So anyway, the first match he breaks down is versus Sting Falls Count Anywhere match from Beach Blast in 1992. He told this great story about how at the time he was just getting over a whooping cough because I think his son Dewey had just been born. And I guess, that's a typical illness for babies and whatever. So he actually caught it from his son. And the match was really meaningful for him because he had a really tough time breathing at that point, and he took no time off, still wrestled all of his matches, but he was still sick as a dog. So he said this match served as a statement that he could still work even while sick with a top guy like Sting, the top guy in WCW at that point, that being the Stinger. He said they had very good chemistry, and Sting trusted a lot of Mick's crazy ideas, and he knew while he was wrestling that match that it was going to be a special match. And he had that definite feeling afterward that he had accomplished something special. And, he talked about how the feeling about how when he retired, it was something it was really difficult to let go of because you have this feeling every time you go out there and you have this great match that you don't want it to end, that it's going so well, it's just firing in all cylinders type of thing that, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a gift and a curse because when it goes so well, he has trouble sleeping, going to bed that night, thinking about how the match went as well as it did. And then if it goes wrong, you're up all night as well, worrying about, what could have gone better, what could have gone worse, or what did go wrong, blah, blah, blah. But he just thought it was the perfect match. He thought it was the perfect match from start to finish. The next match that we see is a tag team match, them teaming with a guy named Max Payne, M-A-X-X, and then Payne is spelled P-A-Y-N-E, against the Nasty Boys from Clash of Champions in WCW, Clash of Champions 26, to be exact. I had no idea who Max Payne was before I had seen this match, on this show. I'd never even heard of the guy. So this was a nice introduction to his work, and Mick Foley praised him a lot in this section of Break It Down against the Nasty Boys. He praised the Nasty Boys quite a bit as well. He remembers clotheslining both members of the Nasty Boys over the top rope, and how it was so impressive because Mick Foley is not a small guy. He was 300 and something pounds at this point, and the Nasty Boys are obviously huge. I think they still are, and they definitely were back then. So for Foley to pull that off, almost over 1,000 pounds crashing down to the mat after being clotheslined over the top rope, was a surreal sight, something that he had never seen prior to that point, and something that he believes he has not seen since, because they were all pretty heavy at that point. But he said they knew how to brawl, and, Payne specifically was a collegiate wrestler coming into the match. And he was an all-around good guy, and it seemed like the perfect joining of forces for them to come together for this matchup because they were so similar. And then he kind of transitions into how he's had a lot of diverse partners over the course of his career, from Max Payne to Kane in WWE to The Rock. I'm not sure if he won tag team gold with Payne in WCW. I know he won gold with The Rock. I'm pretty sure he won gold with Kane in WWE as well. But they all were very different from one another. And the partnership specifically between Kane and The Rock, his alliance with The Rock and then his alliance with Kane, were also very different from one another. And every single one of them made an impact with their respective chemistry. And he always loves getting people's minds off of things with the matches that he can go out there and have with these specific partners. The next match we look at is against Mikey Whipwreck from Big Ass Extreme Bash in 1996 in ECW. This was billed as, not on the night of the show, but maybe it was, I don't know. But when they showed the title card for the match, it says, final match before WWE. And this was from March of 96, I looked it up, because he actually debuted the night after WrestleMania in 96. So this is like a month before he arrived in WWE. And he said that the fans were very demanding of the ECW stars in the sense that, Heyman asked him to go heel, and he did, but they took it so seriously that, like, he had, for example, a guy before the big match at Big Ass Extreme Bash outside selling t-shirts of his. Didn't sell a single shirt, but what really happened was that the people that were walking by spit in the guy's face. He had loogies all over his fucking arm because people hated, Cactus Jack Mick Foley that much for leaving and for praising WWE, for shitting on ECW, blah, blah, blah. People hated him for turning on the company. But on the night of the show, on his way out, or, on his way out to the ring, that is, and on his way out of the arena, fans chanted his name. I don't know what the turnaround was. I don't know why people went from hating the guy to cheering him. I don't know. But he considers that to be among his favorite matches. And he said that he could not have asked for a better send-off. He mentioned the timeline that he had talks with Vince about coming into the company in late 95. And then the match with Whipwreck was in the third month of 96, that being March. So that's how it kind of worked out. But Mikey Whipwreck, he said, was a very unique character. And if Undertaker has the greatest entrance of all time, he says, then Mick Foley from that pay-per-view after, I assume, he lost. I don't think they talked about that here. I don't remember. But either way, on his way out, he called it the greatest exit of all time. Specifically when he strutted out of the arena with Stevie Richards, with Stevie Richards and Blue Meanie by his side. I thought that was a great visual. The final match he talks about is against Triple H from SummerSlam 1997, of course, from WWE. They had a great match, a great steel cage match that night. They had a great feud that summer that really elevated both guys. Triple H had been with WWE for about 2 years by that point, almost won King of the Ring in 96, got buried instead due to the curtain call, had to work his way back up. And this feud really elevated Triple H to, I would say, Intercontinental Championship level. He won King of the Ring that year instead. And Mick Foley, yeah, he was already elevated. He had that great feud with Undertaker in 96. But, this really helped cement him as a, perennial babyface because people really got behind Mick Foley at this point. He remembers Chyna slamming the door on his face so hard that it sent like a lightning bolt through his shoulder down to his fingers, thinking that he had been severely hurt. That's how hard she slammed the steel cage door on his face when he was trying to escape. But he calls Triple H one of his favorite opponents, and the highlight of the match was him jumping off, not the very tippy top of the steel cage, but like one rung down. And it was close enough to the Jimmy Snuka splash from the Garden that inspired him to become a professional wrestler in the first place. That was his MSG moment. Even though it wasn't in the Garden, I think it was I want to say it was in Long Island, that pay-per-view was, I think. I might be mistaken, but I'm because he said it was 7 miles from the Garden. What else would be 7 miles from the Garden? So I'm assuming it was like the Nassau Coliseum, whatever. I might be wrong on that, but he said it was close enough to that moment. And he liked to jump off of high places and really make the most of each of these moments. And he tried to make it a work of art that night. And he says that if he can go back and kind of make these matches sound better than they actually were, and if he ever has that opportunity, he said he's going to take full advantage of that to close this thing out. So I thought this was a good episode of Break It Down featuring Mick Foley. Refreshing, because it would have been easy for him to talk about, the Undertaker match or the Triple H Hell in a Cell match or even the Randy Orton match, which we haven't heard a ton about, but enough where it's nothing new. I thought it was cool that he went back and talked about matches that I personally was never aware of. I had never heard of the Mikey Whipwreck match, the Max Payne Nasty Boys tag team match, or even the Sting match from Beach Blast in 92. Obviously, I've seen and heard quite a bit about the SummerSlam match with Triple H, but it wasn't like the Royal Rumble match, which he just got done talking about in an Untold a few months ago. So anyway, this was great. Check it out right now on the WWE Network. Break It Down featuring Mick Foley. And thank you guys for checking out the show as always. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Should be back tomorrow with another installment of the MCU Rewatch Review Series, breaking down the second phase, Phase 2 of the MCU, coming up tomorrow with myself and the doc, Chris Mueller. So until then, guys, have a great one. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.